Marc, it is great to have you in person.
Great to see you in person.
Yeah, we've done a few Zooms together. For those of you in the audience that took our election emotions survey,
That's right,
last year, Marc was the brainchild behind that. Effectively trying to get a sense of your emotions before the election, your emotions after the election, how expectations differ from how you feel in reality. But we were just saying before we got started here that it's probably time for a follow-up.
I think we're ready.
Yeah.
I'm dying to know how people are feeling.
Well, especially as the theme of this book is all about emotional regulation.
Yes.
So the previous book, your bestseller, Permission to Feel, was about emotional intelligence.
Correct.
This book, Dealing with Feeling, has a ring to it.
Thank you.
Focuses on emotional regulation.
Yeah.
Explain emotional regulation.
So, put simply, well, let's talk about what it's not. Because I think a lot of people think, well, emotion regulation is about controlling your emotions or suppressing them or denying them or ignoring them or like checking your emotions at the door. And I argue that's a terrible definition of emotion regulation. What emotion regulation is literally using all of your emotions wisely to achieve your goals. That's the simple one.
So lean into your emotions.
Yeah.
It's interesting that the first quote you have in the book is from Viktor Frankl, famous neurologist, psychologist, survived Auschwitz while the rest of his family was murdered and died. He, of course, is the author of the book Man's Search for Meaning, which I highly recommend if you haven't read it.
Yep.
He writes in that book, forces beyond your control can take away everything you possess except one thing: your freedom to choose how you will respond to the situation.
That's right.
Viktor Frankl, who experienced the worst possible conceivable situation you could ever be in, being in Auschwitz, he asserts you still have control.
Yeah.
Explain control over emotions, because I think so. It's confusing to folks.
Yeah, and he's using the word control in a different way. He has another quote that I want to share that's relevant to this, which I love. It is, between stimulus and response, there is space. In that space lies our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and freedom. And that quote kind of guides my everyday life. Because I think for a lot of us, especially now with everything that's going on in our society, that stimulus response is like, ugh. It's stimulus, react. There's no space.
Or stimulus, retweet, right?
Sure, exactly. Yeah. There's just no processing. And what Victor says is that between that stimulus and that response, not that automatic, habitual, not so great reaction, but that carefully, consciously made response, in that space, we can choose our response. And so that response is emotion regulation. And that's the power, the strategy is in that space.
Explain how you get there, especially as an adult, if you were not taught that as a kid.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. My research with thousands of people shows that only 10% of us even know what the concept means. Most of us never learned it.
Well, 100% of the podcast listeners now know what it means.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is great.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting is that the first step is a little bit more about your beliefs about the whole thing. I think a lot of people come from a childhood, come from a family situation where they don't even believe that they can do anything with their emotions. Like, mommy didn't do much for regulation. Daddy certainly didn't do very well at it. And this is who I am, and this is what it is. And I want to make sure people understand that that's just not true. That you may have grown up with a dysregulated parent or a regulated parent. But I think we confuse oftentimes our personality and temperament with our regulation skill. So some of us, for example, are more prone to experience a lot of strong emotions. That's someone like me. I'm in a good mood, I'm a little irritable, and then I'm feeling great. So I don't have a mood disorder per se. I just am a little bit mercurial.
You wear your emotions on your sleeve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I have to pay attention to that because people will, call me out on it. But that's not my skill. That's just my tendency to kind of live in the world a certain way. So the first step is understand that you have the ability to regulate. You can learn this. It's 100% learned. You were not born that way. The second is you got to know how you're feeling. And that's something that people haven't been taught either. People have very poor emotion vocabularies. So if I were to ask you right now, what's the psychological difference between anger and disappointment?
I would say that anger is sort of a level above disappointment, right? Like disappointment can lead to anger. I can be disappointed without being angry. I can be like, to get to anger, my level of disappointment, is 10x
Yeah.
You know.
All right. But that's not I want definitions here.
Oh, well.
Sorry.
Disappointment is, you're really putting me on the spot here, Professor. Not getting an expected result and being impacted by that.
Yeah.
Anger, well, many reasons, many things could cause anger,
Sure.
but anger, I feel like, is this visceral feeling that not only have things not gone your own way, there could be vengeance in there. There could be a much more kaleidoscope of negative sentiment.
Yeah. So disappointment, unmet expectations. Anger is about perceived injustice. So I can't believe you said that. How could you do that? That we get angry when something doesn't kind of go in the way, not just how we expect it to go, but we think it's wrong. So different emotions, right? What about anxiety versus stress?
I mean, stress could apply to anything that is creating a bit of discomfort, right? Physical stress, emotional stress. Anxiety is this sort of constant feeling of nervousness to the level where it's sort of overwhelming your brain and emotions.
Pretty good. Okay. Not correct, but it's pretty good.
Okay. B plus, B minus. Let me know how I did on the exam here.
Anxiety is about uncertainty. I can't predict the future. What's going to happen? The pandemic hits, all these things happen. What's going to happen after the election? I don't know. That puts you in a state of anxiety. Stress is when you got too many demands and not enough resources. And so again, I play these games with people because it's important for how we regulate. Because if you're anxious and you're like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? You need a different kind of strategy than if you're stressed and you got too much stuff on your plate.
Right. So stress, like the quick solution for stress is take some stuff off of your plate.
Take stuff off your plate or get help.
Whereas anxiety, I mean, a lot of things that could make you anxious are things that are not in your control.
Exactly. So you've got to have good self-talk. You got to be like, I remember, I have a funny story about this. So the pandemic is there and I'm like, the university shut down. I'm working from my home. I watch the stock market going down. I'm like, what's happening with the world? Is anybody going to want to use our surveys and our trainings? And I just started one day just singing like, we all go down together. Just figured like, like I have no control. I think, when are we opening? I'm like, I'm not the CDC. I'm not the president of the university. Like, you're asking me the wrong question.
The pandemic was a really interesting circumstance globally, and we're still obviously dealing with the ramifications of it. There were a number of things happening that were outside the control of 8 billion human beings.
Exactly. And everybody was anxious, or a lot of people were anxious, not everybody. And people were freaking out. I remember I had people like texting me from the grocery store saying, somebody touched me. And I was like, okay. what do I do? And I can't go grocery shopping because I'm afraid. And it was amazing how many people got so activated and, they were anxious and worried. And so my point of all this is that, the first step is you got to kind of believe that you can do it. The second step is you got to know how you're feeling because you got to label it to regulate it.
Hence the exercise we just did.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And by the way, just to not make you feel bad about yourself, but like 5-year-olds and 8-year-olds in schools that I work with are like, they got this stuff down like it's crazy because that's what we teach.
Well, I mean, thank God. As a child of the 80s and 90s, this is not stuff that was taught to us in school.
Like, get over it. Suck it up.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think we talked about this in the last podcast. Like, I think my mother was more emotionally available to me, but my father was very much former military guy. And like anytime any stressor came up in my life, the immediate reaction was like, suck it up, be a man.
Yeah.
And like most people in the world have something, like worse than you. So deal with it. Or let me tell you what happened to me when I was a kid.
I'll give you sad.
I'll give you sad. Do you know what I had to deal with? And so and I find that still, you've met my wife. I said the reason we're connected is because Alex saw you at an event last year, but I still, have to catch myself in conversations with my wife when she's dealing with a situation that my father doesn't come out.
Yeah, I know. I have the same thing. It's like, move on, get over it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't want somebody to say that to me, though, like when I'm pissed.
Well, along those lines, one of the themes you address in the book is co-regulation.
Yeah.
So, we'll get back to regulating yourself in a second, but the idea that you can help another, a loved one, a colleague, a friend, a child,
correct,
through co-regulation. Yes. How does that work?
it works the same as self-regulation, except you're applying the strategies to another person. So if I notice you freaking out about the pandemic or whatever's happening, I will encourage you.
I have an audience of about 500,000 on Instagram every day that's freaking about something. So this is something we can apply here at Mo News.
It's a big deal. And you are, by the way, as a great podcast host, co-regulating people every day, right? Because you're sharing news and you're doing it with a certain way of a certain affect, and that impacts how people feel. Co-regulation is the intentional use of strategies to help someone else deal with their feelings. So, for example, I was just with a really good friend who is going through, a tough divorce, and we were talking, and one thing she was saying was, I don't know, is it better for me to be back with the narcissist or together, stay alone? This whole conversation. So, long story short, is I just said in a sentence, "Can you remind me of why you left?" And it was like, da, 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 da. I said, "What do you think?" "Oh, there's no way I'm going back." And so that was the anxiety that she was having, the fear of being alone, right? She was ruminating about that. Mm-hmm. And what I did, as I didn't say, "Are you crazy for going, what are you thinking about? Like, that's ridiculous to go back." I just paused. I said, "Think about this. What do you think about that?" And all of a sudden she came up with her own solution to the problem. That's the best of co-regulation. It's not me co-regulating by me telling you what to do. It's me being a close friend or a parent or a colleague that gets you to think a little differently to come up with your own solution.
I mean, it sounds like what you're laying out there is the key to co-regulating somebody is just asking questions.
Yeah. What do you need right now? What can I do to help you?
Without leading any way, but like, why did you leave them again? Like, how do they make you feel?
Exactly. The kid comes home from school and they're screaming and crying. You don't say, what my father would have said is like, "What are you crying about? Like, look at the kids over there."
Yeah. Were you in my house growing up?
Yeah.
I know you came from a very difficult environment.
I did. Yeah. And so instead you say, "Hey, honey, what happened at school today? What happened on the bus? I see you look really upset about something. I have no idea what happened. Please tell me." And then you hear it, and then you listen for the theme of the emotion. Oh, so it sounds like you're really angry that your friend, left you out, or it sounds like you're disappointed that you didn't win the game. Let's talk about that, and then we can find the strategy to best support you.
Right. When can you make that pivot? Because, oftentimes some people just want to be heard. And when do you, as the co-regulator, right, figure out when or when not to then give advice or help that person?
The advice is kind of not really there. You want to kind of help the person find the solution. Remember, sometimes you can give a little advice. Here's the deal. Most people think that venting is helpful. It's not. So I'll give you an example.
Wait, venting to me is just like talking about whatever is, on your mind.
If you keep talking about, it's problematic, right? Yeah. Because if let's say this doesn't go well. I'm just imagining it. We know it's going well, but let's say it doesn't. And I leave here. I'm like, I can't believe it. I couldn't get the words out. I feel so terrible. I'm embarrassed. Like I'm such a professional. I look like a loser. And I'm going through that craziness. And I said, I'm going to call everybody I know to tell them how upset I am. I call my best friend. I'm like, "Can you believe it? I had this chance to be on this podcast and I messed it up." And then I call the next person. And then I'm walking down the streets in New York City, and it's like, I've just rehearsed my negative self-talk 15 times and I'm stuck with it. So you can't it's not healthy to just talk. Mm-hmm. You need that co-regulator to say, "Tell me, get it out. Let me hear it." But at a certain point, you want to kind of provide that support and also try to get them to regulate. Because I don't want, why is it useful for me to just ruminate all day long about what I messed up about? It's better for me to say, "Mark," you'd say something, if you were my co-regulator, you'd say, "What do you think went so bad?" And I'd say, I didn't explain that one concept so well. Mm-hmm. And then I would say to that person, "But how long was the podcast?" "Oh, it's like an hour." "So what I'm hearing is that you just did you made like one thing that you're upset about?" "Yeah." And I'll say something like, "Do you think people are going to really even notice it?" And I'd probably say, "No, actually, you're probably right." "Oh, okay." Do you see how I'm like
I got you. And I'm curious in all these scenarios where like somebody in your life is like really angry at someone or feels totally burned or, feels some injustice in their life. That to me, that feels like the more challenging situation sometimes, not just like disappointment in oneself, but when someone has a personal conflict, interpersonal conflict with somebody in their lives, serving as the co-regulator.
Well, you wouldn't be that person. You're not the best co-regulator in that instance. You'd want someone else. You'd want a friend or someone else to do that for you.
Yeah.
But it works the same because, I could say in another situation, I remember somebody years ago, really just a friend just turned on me and I was blown away by it. And I was really upset and angry. And then, I had a friend who was a good co-regulator and just asked me some good questions about it. Like, how much does this person really mean to you? And I was like, actually, they've not been a very good friend. And I was like, oh, then why am I so angry? Why am I wasting my energy on someone that I actually don't even want to be with anymore?
Yeah. And by the way, that is a common occurrence. I think we've all experienced it.
Yeah.
That we've had friends or people in our lives that served a need or we thought served a certain need at a certain part of our life. And then this often happens like around weddings and stuff, like around wedding invite. And then you realize you're like, wait, that person was always so important to me. Wait, that person, like,
exactly.
Like,
they're not making any time for me.
They're not making time for me. Like, I haven't talked to them in a while. Like, but there's a mourning period there that exists depending on the relationship. But talking through that, I think is super, super interesting. And, most of us are not professional, haven't studied psychology. Aren't therapists.
I want to just say something about that because in my field right now, there's a whole thing with the work in schools that this is therapy. What I did with you or my example, that is not therapy.
Yeah.
It's being a good parent, a good coach, a good friend, a good colleague. It's just trying to be helpful. If you called me and said, Mark, my wife and I just had this huge fight and I'm feeling really upset about it. I wouldn't say like, call your therapist.
Yeah.
I would just say, tell me what happened. Let's talk about it. And let me think about, a way that I can support you in maybe going to have that difficult conversation. That's what friends should be able to do for each other.
So that's friends. I'm curious, I know you're working with a lot of schools right now. Yep. When should parents be starting with their kids on regulating their emotions, recognizing certain things? And I'm curious, even as you're raising a child, in the nature versus nurture debate, are certain kids or certain humans more predisposed to being better at regulating their emotions than others? How do you recommend parents go through that process?
I recommend they start when the baby is in the womb. I'm not kidding. I mean, the environment that a fetus develops in, matters. As soon as the baby is born, the attunement that a baby has with a parent matters. The attachment starts beginning. And so we want kids to have a secure attachment, which means that we want to, co-regulate them as babies. We hold them, we soothe them.
Right. It's very physical initially.
It is. And that is co-regulation. That's the kind of the beginning of co-regulation. And then it leads to more cognitive stuff, as they develop language. But this is something this is across the lifespan. And so I remember, when my father was 78 years old, and my father did not have an emotion education, but he got
There was no time for it back then, Mark.
Yeah, there was. They just didn't think it was important.
You're right.
But, we had this story that I wrote about a while back where he was really angry with his wife. And he was like losing it. And at 78, and she called me and she's like, Mark, I think I'm going to have to divorce your father. I'm like, oh my God, my mom had passed. He had remarried. And I'm like, there is no way that this divorce is happening because he's going to be alone and he's going to want to live with me. And I don't come from that culture where parents live with you. So anyhow, it sounded very cold, but anyway. We go out for lunch, and I take a road trip to go visit my dad because she was really upset. And I said, Dad, what's going on? And he said, I can't take it anymore. What can't you take anymore? Long story short is that he was jealous that she was spending time with her grandchildren.
This is common.
Yeah. And so, but he was acting as if he were angry. And I said, Dad, Jane is really upset with your anger. And what I'm hearing now is that you're not actually angry, you're jealous. He's like, are you telling me I'm jealous? I'm like, no, you told me you're jealous. I'm just giving you the language for it. And then he started crying because he had this epiphany that he was actually treating his wife poorly because he was upset that she was spending time with a 2-year-old and that he was envious of that 2-year-old or jealous of that 2-year-old. And so that was the beginning of the regulation process. So I acted as my father's co-regulator in terms of like listening, helping him build the vocabulary. And then we said, well, what can you do when she spends time with the grandkids? She should, you can't take that away from her. What can you do? And then he came up with his little bucket of strategies that he could do while she was playing with the kid.
So gives hope to anyone that at any age, any circumstance, there is an opportunity here.
There is. And actually, funny story about that is that about 2 months later, his wife calls me and she's like, no, I don't know what you did at that Panera, but your father's a changed man. So it really is possible.
Having gone through, a variety of very challenging experiences as a kid, eating disorders, bullying, sexual abuse, your mother dying at a young age, how did working through those experiences get you to this, where you are today?
Yeah. Well, I was very blessed in life that I had an uncle, happened to be my mother's brother, who happened to be a middle school teacher, who also was a trumpet player. He was a band leader in the Catskill Mountains at the Concord Hotel. And Uncle Marvin was like the Robin Williams character in that movie Dead Poets Society. He was one of those magical people.
Oh, Captain, my captain.
Yes. And so he happened to come stay with us one summer because he was getting his graduate degree near my hometown. And we'd sit in the backyard. And I mean, the truth is he was literally building a curriculum to teach his kids social studies through the language of emotion. He said that they're bored. This is up in the Catskills. This is many years ago. He said, my students are milking cows in the morning before they come into school. And I'm expecting them to be curious about the Roman oligarchy. Like there's just no connection.
Yeah.
So he said, I'm going to take my curriculum and I'm going to map out all the different feelings that the characters experience throughout the chapters in my history book. And then we're going to kind of dive into the feelings and then get the kids to relate to the feelings. So then they'll be interested in the characters and history. It was magical, his curriculum. But he practiced it with me. So at 11, he's like, tell me about a time when you felt elated. And I'd be like, can't think of any. He said, well, what about alienated? I'm like, how many days you got? And so we just had all these conversations. And he was the person who helped me, really disclose what was happening to me. He didn't judge it. And he gave me hope and strength and a career. And so Uncle Marvin, gets all the credit for, shaping my development and putting me on this path to creating an emotion revolution. And I think importantly, what I want to say about that is, I could spend way too much time talking about my childhood, which nobody wants to listen to. But everybody has a childhood. Everybody has a story. Mine, as you know, involves bullying and abuse and all these other challenges that I feel blessed that I have recovered from and feel very healthy and happy. But a lot of people there's millions of circumstances that people grow up with, whether it's neglect or abuse or, overprotection. It's endless. And what I found in my research is the following. So post writing my book, for this book, Dealing with Feeling, I did this 70 study. I ran around the world doing these studies because I wanted to know how many people have an emotional ally. I call it emotional ally now. How many people grew up with an emotional ally? How many people have one at work? And when I find only 1/3 of us say we had one as a kid, meaning people our age.
Yeah.
1/3 of us at work, people say it's about 50%, which is interesting.
Emotional ally, like friend?
It could be anybody.
Okay.
As a kid, it could be your aunt, your uncle, your mother, your father, your neighbor, your coach, your teacher, just someone that you feel comfortable talking to about your feelings. And same thing as an adult, like you have somebody in your adult life that you can call, like to talk to about something. Now, what's interesting is that across every single study in like 20 countries, there are no cultural differences. There are 3 characteristics that describe our emotional allies. Mm-hmm. Number 1, they're non-judgmental. Number 2, they're impeccable listeners. Number 3, they show compassion. That's it. And notice, well, you don't notice because I don't have my little word cloud here in front of you in my research, but no one ever says smart. Never shows up as a characteristic of an emotional ally. No one ever says problem solver or fixer. Mm. And so what this tells me, and this is basically a strategy, that's in the book in terms of relationships, is that the co-regulator is not the knower. It's not the brilliant person who's solving your problems. The co-regulator is someone who's showing up in your life, who's non-judgmental, listens, and shows empathy and compassion.
Why is the inclination then for so many of us, and I would say probably, gender stereotype, like men especially, to be the problem solver?
Yeah. I think it's because we don't want to deal with the feeling.
Yes.
It's like,
right. That's been a good part of my life, not dealing with my feelings, admittedly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, a change is
because I was taught not to deal with my feelings. I was taught to move on.
Remember,
from my feelings,
it's 100% learned. It's never too early, never too late.
So you had Uncle Marvin, but for some people don't have that as kids,
2/3
right?
of people didn't have someone.
So you're working in schools right now. Talk to me about the program that you're developing. What age groups, grades, and what does that entail right now?
So Ruler is the name of the program. It's our Center for Emotional Intelligence's model of teaching emotional intelligence. It represents the 5 skills of emotional intelligence: recognizing, understanding, labeling, expressing, and regulating emotion.
Hence Ruler.
Correct.
Acronym. Yeah.
Acronym. And currently it's in 5,000 schools across the U.S., and we have schools in about 33 other countries. And essentially it's preschool to high school kids, including their teachers, their leaders, and their families. And essentially what we're teaching is the skills of emotional intelligence. So we have tools like the mood meter, which we have an app for that's free called How We Feel. It's available on Android and iOS for free as a tool to help build that emotional self-awareness. People love it. We have 3.5 million people using it now. Mm-hmm. People are just learning the vocabulary piece that we started with, like what's the difference between anger and disappointment and anxiety and stress, so parents can better communicate with their kids and teachers can better teach these things. Students can understand their feelings better. They're learning how to express those emotions, have the conversations around them, and they're learning how to regulate them. Because at the end, we need to learn how to regulate. Life is about being discomforted. Life is about frustration and overwhelm. I don't know anybody who's successful who has not had chronic disappointment at some point, or anxiety or frustration or overwhelm. And if you can't deal with that, I don't think you can achieve much of your goals in life.
We also live in a day and age with technology, including, I'd be hard pressed to find anyone these days where you haven't been to a restaurant where you see like, a table where the kids are on iPads, right? Correct. That like it's an opiate, right?
Yeah.
And curious to...
It's also a co-regulator. It's like parents, like, I don't want to deal with you. Here's your phone.
Here's the phone. So we can just like, you're crying.
We can have a good dinner by ourselves. We don't have to deal with you. Like, we don't need to even be your parent right now.
Yeah. I'm curious as to, how technology in some ways could be beneficial, in some ways is hurtful to this process of emotional regulation.
It is both.
Yeah. And by the way, that applies to adults too, right? Like you're in a bad mood, something bad, like you want to turn a distraction on.
Some of the top strategies that don't tend to help people are doom scrolling, or the social comparison that's awful. I started...
right, I'm in a terrible place. Let me go online. Oh, everyone's having an amazing time.
I'm feeling like I don't want to go to the gym today. I'm bored and tired and I don't want to work out. And then you go online to all the people that are working out and look great. And then you feel worse about yourself. Yeah. I mean, this is true. We know that this is the truth. And that's part of what we have to learn about ourselves, is be more mindful that, I'm really careful about like how much time I spend on social media. And I use social media a lot, but I do like, all right, I'm done. Like I'm putting that.
You set a limit for yourself every day?
I do.
What is that limit, by the way?
The limit is like never, I lie a little bit, almost never at meals.
Okay.
I want to have my meal. If your phone, even the research shows that even if the phone is down on the table, people are anticipating you're going to, pick up the phone, and it creates discomfort in that meal.
So no visible phones at a meal?
No visible phones, period. You can do it.
Yeah.
It's okay. So we have 2 dogs, and we take a morning we take a long walk every morning, early in the morning. And I have it's like a self-regulatory thing to not bring my phone because it's the time that we can actually talk, enjoy the park, look at people, play with the dogs. And it's a good 45 minutes, like not like walking, you see people in the park walking their dogs. They're like they're just looking at their phone while they're not, it's nuts. There's no real connection. Mm-hmm. And I find that, and then in bed at night, same thing. It's like, and we have these, even when we're driving, we have this conversation. It's like, by the way, just because I'm driving doesn't mean you can just be on your phone for 2 hours. Like, we're in this relationship together, and like, can we have a conversation? And so we have these conversations about it.
As I was like reading through the book and just thinking about kind of where we are in society, I mean, because we happen to have to cover like the political violence and the assassinations and this extreme rhetoric. And we were talking before that like, you know, you and I will take incoming from people who are taking out their feelings about society on us, right? As the sort of communicator, like you're a fascist, you're this. We seem to be throwing around words that used to have definitions that don't seem to have definitions anymore. There is this tendency in society to blame others for your plight or blame the government for your plight.
Yeah, it's easier.
It's easier. We're all guilty of it. What's happening at a deeper level? I know in the book, and maybe this might be related, like you lay out like 7 reasons we can't deal with our feelings. But this whole idea that like we're a society incapable of introspection.
Yeah. We haven't been taught to pause. We don't want to have, this is part of why one of the strategies is just learning how to breathe properly and do some mindfulness exercises. Because right now, I mean, you know this as someone who does a lot of work online, people's attention spans are it's like a millisecond.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole thing on Instagram and TikTok, like a hook, like I need to get you in the first second and a half of a video, or you swipe.
Exactly. And so it's a huge issue because people apply that to, like, teachers are saying, like, I can't even teach anymore because the dopamine hit, I can't keep up with the dopamine hits. Like, instruction can't be like a swipe. It doesn't really work. A relationship can't keep up with those dopamine hits. So
you can't just start talking like they talk online. We're like, here are the 3 things you need to know about what we're doing today, right?
It's like, really? And so the point of all this, I think, is, well, a couple of things. One is that blaming is easy. You know, it's easy to say, I'm miserable because of you. But you have a choice to be miserable or not. Even
if that person, by the way, is being totally unfair to you and making you miserable, right?
Well, they can't make you miserable. So let's move away.
Oh, they can only take they can only act the way that they're doing.
Exactly.
You're reacting by being miserable.
Are choosing to be miserable. If you're, in a violent situation, of course, it's very different. But on a daily basis, when you're watching, I can't watch a social media post that's something, that's really upsets you. I can't talk anymore because I'm just so upset because of that. It's a bad excuse. Either A, why do you need to watch it? B, how much control do you have over what that person did or said? Nothing, none. And so I think people, and this is where I got really bad. I got terrible pushback on an article I wrote recently because the article was titled "The Overreaction Epidemic," and people are like, "Overreacting? Who are you, you jerk?"
Our society's falling apart.
Exactly.
Like, why are you?
We're underreacting. I wrote a rebuttal that's getting published actually.
I want to publish your rebuttal.
Thank you.
Okay, so please send it our way.
But the point I'm making is, I always think about this in my martial arts, because I'm a martial arts teacher, is, there's a phrase, the angry man will lose himself in life and in battle. Because anger is not a bad emotion, but you have to use it wisely. Allowing the anger to cause you to not sleep well, to cause you to be yelling and screaming all the time, to cause you to be kind of a maniac is not going to achieve your goals. It's just not. And people just have to know that. You have to channel that anger, through productivity, through, being clever, through, if you want to protest, go protest, but do it really smartly. But just running around screaming, being dysregulated, it doesn't help anybody, nor does it help your physical health.
Take me through that process, though. I've been wronged by somebody. I'm really upset. They might be a loved one. It might have been happening for a while. This, a repeat offender, right? Yeah. Especially, many of us deal with this with family sometimes, right? Like, all right, now I'm angry. They've done, what am I doing in that moment, Mark?
You're taking a deep breath. You are giving yourself space. If you have a revelation that the relationship stinks from the beginning, then you're going to be free. You're going to be like, yeah, guess what? This is I'm done. I don't have to be angry anymore because you go do you, I'm going to go do me.
You mean done forever with that person?
It's possible. We have to do that sometimes.
Depending on the offense.
The way it works, I think, is this way. Ultimately, we all want control. Let's be real. We want control over everything. I want control over everything that happens in my house. I even want control over what people say in meetings.
We're all secret dictators at heart.
Yeah, I think we are. We're all control freaks.
Okay.
I mean, wouldn't you love to have control over like things at home? Like you want your kids.
Sure.
Yeah. Like,
I mean, it would be kind of boring at some point, but yes, control would be very nice. Yeah.
We can't have control over everything. I can't control the world around me. I can't control how I respond to the situation, though. Going back to Frankl. If I feel like I have no control of a situation, maybe I need perspective. And that's why I need the co-regulator. Hey, Mo, can you like help me understand what the hell's going on right now? And then I hear your perspective and we talk about it. So I don't have to feel so alone with my experience. But if I don't have that, like recently I was at an airport. I love this now because, I wrote this book on emotion regulation. Nobody's regulated in airports when flights get canceled. It's like the best. It's like, I love it. I watch the person.
Right. Your next book should just like you be at the airport. Like the entire book takes place at the airport, right?
Totally though. Yeah. I mean, like you should see people like the Million Milers on United. Yeah. I mean, they're like best. Like you're not treating me fairly. It's like, and the poor woman or man who's at the desk there trying to like reschedule.
Oh, the people trying to cut the line. They're in group 5. They're trying to get in with group 1. I mean, there's like reasons to be upset at the airport. And then there's like, like the
injustices,
the injustice that has been committed against me by the 15-minute delay. Right.
Yeah. And so I travel a lot because I do a lot of public speaking and it's like flights get canceled, blah, blah, blah. And I've just come to the place in my life where like, I have no control over the flight. There's no one with me. And I just sit in a seat for a minute. I take a deep breath and I'm like, Mark, you chose to live this life on the road to do these presentations. This is going to be a rainy day. Tomorrow's going to be a sunny day. It's all good. And I usually then do something productive. Like, oh, I'm going to get to go to a nice dinner by myself tonight. Or I have the whole night to myself to write. Oh, I can go to the gym. And so I try to channel it into something productive as opposed to like, what use is it for me to like go up to that person and say, this airline sucks and I'm sick of it. This is the last time I'm flying with you. It's like, how's that going to help?
And that's the airlines, but even, like somebody in your life, a family member, a friend, whatever, it's just like find that space
set boundaries.
And set boundaries. And also it sounds like everybody has to develop their own sort of mental process.
Hey, I mean, we're in a world right now where, you do a lot about politics. People are losing friendships and marriages and families over this stuff.
Yeah.
And I think I have family members who don't have the same political views as I do. And so I just don't talk to them about it. I love them, but why? Like, I can't control their belief systems about something. I could try to manipulate and control, but why am I going to bother doing that? It's a waste of my time. How about we talk about sports? How about we go, to the movies? How about we talk about a billion other things that are also important in life? Mm-hmm. I don't know why we have to only talk about that one thing.
We've mainly been talking about negative emotional regulation.
Yeah.
Is there anything to this process, regulating your emotions, when something great happens, when you experience happiness or excitement or anticipation?
There is. Yeah. Actually, can I give you a little lesson on this? So I share a lesson. So one of the schools that I work with, I love this exercise. This one didn't make it in the book. I was doing an exercise with the kids, like 4th grade, on what is the psychological difference between excitement and elation. You want to try it?
Oh man, all these pop quizzes, Mark. Excitement and elation. I can be excited whether if I just did something great or something great happened to someone I love, or I anticipate something, that's probably like more excitement. Like excitement is anticipatory.
Correct.
Elation to me is probably the aftermath of that. I was excited for this thing that was going to happen, and afterwards I'm elated.
You got it. That was good. You get A+ for that one.
Well, I passed 4th grade. I don't have to go back to 4th grade.
But it's interesting because they're kind of related but different feelings. So the kids got the definitions, and then we focused on elation. What a beautiful feeling, right? That feeling, like when we leave here.
It feels rare, right? Elation?
I don't know. I love the feeling. I mean, after this, I think we're doing a good job.
Elated.
I'm going to feel elated. I think we had a great conversation, feeling proud and happy. So I asked kids to think of experiences at school and sports and life where they felt elation. All these different examples. A lot of them were sports related. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, now your job is not to just think about the experience, but I want you to imagine you or your friend, let's use that example of like sports where you hit the ball and you made the goal, and it was like that moment. It was amazing. You felt elation. Talk with your partners about ways you could help savor that feeling of elation. Savoring is also a regulation strategy. And so they get into little groups, and this one kid came back. He's like, I have an idea. When my friend, hits that goal, I can ask them to pause and just reimagine watching the ball get past the goalie and get into the net and have them describe that to me. I'm like, how cool is that? And he said, that's a way that I could help that friend savor their relation. And I don't think we do enough of that right now in particular. Usually we say, if your kid does great job. That's cool. Awesome. So proud of you. It really has no meaning. But when you say, I'm so proud of you because I watched you on the field and I saw your face when you kicked that ball and you got that goal. It was unbelievable. Like I just watched you. I saw your face get all that cheery, blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's what sits with people, that you saw them, that you witnessed them experience it, and that you remember the details. I think we need more of that in our society.
Yeah, I'm very lucky to be married to somebody who actually tries to help me with that, because I'm somebody who, like, no matter when I achieve something, I probably don't even give myself a few seconds to savor it or live with it, because I'm on to okay, what's the next thing? What's the next challenge?
It's terrible.
Yeah.
And it's like, sometimes, like a lot of people, I've had a lot of, like with my book coming out, I've had some great press. I've been Vanity Fair and the New York Times and the London Times. And I'm sort of like, next. And like my friends are like, Mark, can you, this is a big deal.
Do we both blame our fathers for that?
I think we're very achievement oriented, and I think but like sometimes it's okay to just sit with the feeling.
Enjoy the rest of the day, right? The week. I think it also probably speaks to the speed of society sometimes too, right? And the proclivity to try to compare yourself to others.
100%.
Like I just got that, but that other person got that. Yeah.
Oh, believe me, I've been there.
As we conclude here, a lot of what we've been talking about are sort of mental exercises, right? Yes. Pausing, etc. One thing you bring up in the book too is there's a simple stuff that we've all been told to do our entire lives, that we need to get better nutrition. Yeah. More sleep, exercise.
Sleep is a big one. Huge.
Where is the science and the connection between nutrition, sleep, and fitness and emotional regulation?
It's so strong. As a matter of fact, most leaders and parents and teachers that I work with, one of the things we teach people is how to activate what we call the best version of themselves. Like, I want to be more loving or caring, or I want to be, a better listener. And then they say, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Mm-hmm. And I say, well, tell me more about yourself. Like, what's going on? Why isn't it working? I don't know. My kids still are the same in the morning, and I'm trying to be that better parent, but it's not working. And I say, well, how many hours of sleep did you get the night before? Oh, like 3. Well, your brain needs to replenish, period. I mean, our brains need fuel. And if we don't restore our brains, the cognitive abilities that we have are going to be diminished. It's fact. So sleep is a major factor. Physical activity, endorphins, it's amazing to me. Every time I'm in a really bad mood, or when I was writing my book, I would one of my things that you'll like this. So I do a lot of writing. I think I'm a better public speaker than writer. I like to tell stories on stage, like sitting and like writing it out. It feels, I have ADD, and I have no patience to write it out. And so I would get frustrated and overwhelmed a lot while writing. And then some days it would just get really kind of bad. And I'd say, you know what? Blanket, shut the computer, and I just go lift weights or go do a walk or a run. And I had this, my own little point about my book. I was like, I may not finish the book, but I'm going to be in the best shape of my life. But the truth was, every time I came back after doing a little bit of exercise, I was a better writer. The biochemistry in our brains changes when we give ourselves that break to go outside and look at nature or to do that physical activity. So, emotion regulation, yes, we can do breathing exercises. Yes, we need to label our feelings. Yes, we need to shift our thinking and have relationships. But there's a lot of things we can do, like physical activity, sleeping, eating good foods, journaling, artwork, listening to music. It all helps.
All right. So before people go by Dealing with Feeling and read the book, as we leave here, you talk in the book about how this is a muscle, right? And this is an exercise. What is something that anyone listening to this or watching this should start doing today, either by themselves, with their partner, with their kids to be on the track for better emotional regulation?
I think what's coming to mind right now is monitor your self-talk. Just monitor it. Just pay attention to it. Like
the conversation I'm having with myself, by myself.
Exactly. In the conversation you have, like when you walk into your house and you're irritable, or the conversation at work when you're overwhelmed. Are you saying, I hate my job, I hate my life, like I can't take this relationship? Like just monitor how much self-criticism you engage with yourself, and try to just pause that. Just like stop it, like look at it, observe it, and ask yourself, how's this helping me? And see if you can twist it a little bit. Have a little self-compassion, or a little bit more of a positive or productive self-talk.
So you hit pause on it, and then you try to start a new narrative.
Get curious about it, or, I'll give you an example. So here's one. I set a goal like about fitness. I read a whole chapter on cognitive strategies, and as many of them as people can see. And I'm working out one morning, like literally after I wrote the chapter on cognitive strategies, I'm like doing my crunches, and I'm looking at my stomach just because this is what I did. And I'm like, what are you doing? You're never going to get that six pack. Like, you're wasting your time. You're 56 years old. Who cares about your body? I'm like, Mark, you just wrote a freaking chapter on how to regulate, using cognitive strategies. Like, what was your need to denigrate yourself? Like
the negative self-talk just entered again.
Entered. And I'm like, that self-denigration is not productive. Like, Mark, you've committed to your workout. You actually are in the best shape of your life. Like, knock it off. So that's what I think people need to do.
I appreciate you coming by, Mark.
Thank you.